What is up, guys, and welcome back to part 13 of my F1 2016 career mode here at the Belgian Grand Prix. If you missed the previous 12 episodes, then you can click the little card annotation in the top right hand corner of your screens to go catch up with everything that's happened over the season so far. And you definitely don't want to miss some of the stuff that's happened. We've had some fantastic results over the season so far, so before I spoil it all, go click the annotation and check it all out there. So, last time out at the German Grand Prix, it was a fantastic race for us. You know, we had the pace and we managed to actually capitalise on it for the first time in a while. We got a third position in that race, and really, there was a bit of luck in there, to be honest. You know, Sebastian Vettel getting that puncher and holding up everyone else for quite a long time really helped us get that third position, but we did still have the pace to battle with the Ferrari and the Mercedes, who were leading the race at the time, for quite a while. So, you know, it was a really good race for us, and one that we can definitely be really proud of getting our third podium of the season. This time around, the Belgian Grand Prix is one of my favourite circuits on the F1 calendar, so hopefully I do well at it, but it's not really set up for the Renault. You know, we are mainly focused on straight line speed. There are some long straights of this circuit, but it does have a lot of corners as well, so I think that's where we're going to lose quite a lot of time, but we have no R&D stuff for this race, so let's head straight into the practice session.
Welcome to one of the most unpredictable tracks on the Formula One calendar. Welcome to Spa. It looks like the teams are removing the tyre warmers in the garages, so we should see some action shortly. The Spa circuit really is one of the most iconic tracks on the calendar, and Eau Rouge is one of the best corners in F1 history. A sweeping left, right, left with a blind summit.
It's a downhill start with a sudden elevation change as you surge into a steep uphill section. From within the car, you cannot see the exit until you crest the hill. It's essential to stay flat out as the long Kemmel straight continues to climb immediately afterwards.
Here we are then, going through the first couple of laps in the first practice session of this Belgian Grand Prix. We're just going through the track acclimatization at the moment, and as you can see, we are purple throughout this whole entire lap. Coming round towards the line, it's a completely purple lap. That's absolutely fantastic, and that means that we do have a great understanding of this track, as our engineer usually goes on to say. So that is absolutely fantastic for the first practice session, and hopefully we can carry on this momentum throughout all the other practice objectives as well. And we go into tyre wear management. Coming through the last couple of corners, we're on 75 points at the moment. We only need 5 points to get the purple target score, and it looks like we're going to do that. Coming across the line, yes we have. We've got 90 out of 105, which is purple, which means that we get a load of resource points for doing that, which is absolutely fantastic as well. And we also had Danny Kvyat, you know, battling with us during most of those laps, so that's really positive to get purple on the tyre wear management whilst battling with another guy on the track as well. But unfortunately, this is where it really came to an end, where we came to the qualifying objectives, and yeah, we unfortunately couldn't quite get the green target time of 11th place. We got close with a 0.25 seconds off the pace, but that's unfortunately not good enough to get any points for that, and we were only good enough for 12th position in the practice session on the super soft tyres as well, so that is kind of disappointing as we head into the qualifying session. So hopefully we can improve on that in qualifying and hopefully get maybe into the top 10 to really maximise our potential in the race. But Jolyon Palmer getting up in 8th position, so we know that the Renault does have the pace here at the Belgian Grand Prix. It's just whether we can actually use that and whether we are actually good at this circuit as well. And unfortunately at the moment it doesn't look like it, but we're going to see if we can improve as we head over to the qualifying for the Belgian Grand Prix.
It's qualifying time at Spa, one of the mightiest tracks on the Formula One calendar. Long straights, up and downhill, Eau Rouge as well. This track isn't for the faint-hearted.
Here we are then in the first qualifying session of today's Belgian Grand Prix. We'll be looking to get out of Q1 very easily within the first couple of laps. But judging by our pace in the practice sessions, I don't know whether that is going to be possible or not. We're deciding to go for the full top speed setup number 5, and hopefully that'll be able to help us on the straights. We might lose out quite a bit in the corners, but we will get so much time in the straights that hopefully it works to our advantage. But let's head out on track and see what we can do in this qualifying session. Here we are then, ending our first lap in this qualifying session. Coming around the last couple of corners, so far we are not doing a good lap time. We're already slower than Sebastian Vettel, who is in first place. It's a 1:51.006. We are beaten by Esteban Gutierrez. We're right to the back of the field at the moment on our first lap here in qualifying. That is not good news, but we are going to go out for a few more laps. Here we go, coming around the final corner for our second lap here in qualifying. So far, so good. We are positive compared to our previous lap time. Coming across the line, we are improving. It's a 150.433, but it's only enough to beat Rio Haryanto, and we are currently in 11th place in the qualifying standings at the moment, so we will need to improve on that as we come to the end of the session. Now, we're currently in 19th position in qualifying round the final corner. We're doing really good job on this lap across the line. It is an improvement, but is it enough to get into Q2? And yes, it is. 14th position in qualifying. That is enough to get into Q2, and hopefully we can carry on this momentum to get into Q3 as well. But 14th position, we're definitely going to have to improve on that. Otherwise, we will be knocked out of Q2. But Jolyon Palmer getting in 11th. We have the usual guys getting knocked out of Q1, and Felipe Massa as well, which is really good for the rivalry between us two. But let's head in to Q2. Here we are then in the second qualifying session of the day, coming around the final corner for our first lap here in Q2, and we decided to go on the soft tyres mainly because we wanted to start on these tyres. The soft tyres are the best tyres to start on, so if we got into Q3 and started on the soft tyres, then we would have been able to really have a good strategy compared to the other guys ahead of us. So going around the first lap there, it was a 149.966, not the best of laps, only good enough for 13th position. Here we go for our second lap here in qualifying. It's only good enough for, is it good enough to get us out of Q2? No, it's not. It's only good enough for 12th position on the grid. We changed onto the super soft tyres there because the soft tyres didn't exactly get us the best of lap times, and unfortunately we are out of qualifying in the second qualifying session of the day in P12 and beaten by our teammate Jolyon Palmer, which is really disappointing in this Belgian Grand Prix, but hopefully we can bounce back in the race. And yeah, very disappointing result for us. Hopefully we can improve on it, and just missing out on Q3 by 0.2 of a second. So it's so close, but at the end of the day we just didn't have the pace in this Renault, and yeah, it was not going to be the best of race weekends. It's going to be a difficult one trying to score points at this race weekend, but hopefully we can do it as we head over to the race for the Belgian Grand Prix. Just before we head into the race, let's just have a little look at the rivalry update. So I think we did manage to outqualify Felipe Massa, so I think we have actually beaten him for the first time this season in the driver rivalry, and yes, we have. We finally managed to beat Felipe Massa after the third time of asking. We have finally beaten Felipe Massa in the rivalry, and that's fantastic news going in towards the Belgian Grand Prix. We've got enough R&D points to upgrade the car, but I don't think we're going to do that just yet. We're going to get all the R&D points after the race, and then just sort of have a look at the different things that we can upgrade, because we should be able to upgrade everything on that list, so we'll see after the race which one we want to go for.
In the 48 races held at Spa between 1950 and 2015, the race winner has only started from pole position on 16 occasions. Qualifying yesterday may have set the order for today, but expect the unexpected here at the Belgian Grand Prix. As the saying goes, of course, anything can happen. And you know what? It usually does. So here we are once again, ready to go racing through the Ardennes Forest. 4.35 miles of long straights, fast corners and massive elevation changes. It makes this not only one of the most exciting circuits on the calendar, but one that makes for some consistently high-quality racing as well. Simply put it, there really is no place quite like Spa. Anthony Davidson is alongside me in the commentary box to take you through all the action today. Now, it's a closely matched field here in Spa, Ant, so where do you think we're going to see somebody make a difference?
If they're as close as we're expecting them to be, especially through the midfield, then being able to keep the front tyres in good condition could make the difference. You always lose a chunk of downforce at the front when you're in the turbulent air of another car, which tends to cause understeer, which in turn causes front tyre degradation. Now, too much damage there could force an early pit stop and put you at a slight disadvantage, so the drivers will want to be careful not to be too aggressive early on in the Grand Prix.
Okay, don't worry about making places into one, it's far too tight. Concentrate on a clean exit so you get good momentum down the Camel Straight.
It's race day here at the Belgian Grand Prix, starting down in 14th position on the grid, which is slightly weird because we qualified in 12th position, but I think we have had that glitch once again. But for the first time this season, we've actually dropped a couple of positions. Before, we've actually gained positions, and this is slightly annoying because we've actually dropped 2 positions on the grid. Although it is only 2 positions, I mean, it could have been a lot worse. We could have been a lot further down the grid, so at least it's not that bad. But having a look at the race strategy for today's race. And it's a two-stop strategy at the one-stop strategy at the moment on the inters, then pitting for the inters at the end. But looking at the top of the screen, it's going to go from light rain to heavy rain, and then to light again, and then to dry towards the end of the race. So I think we're going to go for the one-stop, hold out till the wet rain comes, the heavy rain comes, and go on to the full wet tyres, and then really see what sort of strategy we can do from there. But let's get this race underway as we're starting the formation lap. A little bit frustrating though, because Felipe Massa is up into 11th place on the grid now because of that. He was down in 16th in the actual qualifying session that we did, but unfortunately it's put him up into 11th place. But we are ahead of our teammates, so there is a little bit of good news in that as we lose the back end on the formation start, nearly putting it into the wall, but just about managing to save it. But however, we have warmed up our rear tyres, so I suppose there is a little bit good news in there. And now we've managed to get it all under control. We're just going to go through our normal procedure, warming up the tyres, warming up the brakes as we head back to the starting grid for the race start. And here we are on the grid for the start of the race. The lights starting to come on. It's 5 red lights. Lights out and away we go for the Belgian Grand Prix. And it's a good start at the moment. Losing the back end just a little bit, but there we go. Moving over to the right hand side. The inside line down in towards turn 1. We just need to be a little bit careful with all the guys squeezing us. Felipe Massa going for a little bit of a squeeze there down towards turn 1. But looks like he found a little bit of room on the outside. We've managed to get past him. We're up into P8 for the start of this race after turn 1. Fantastic start for us at this Belgian Grand Prix. Up next for us is Max Verstappen, and then Danny Kvyat, who's had a fantastic start as well. He's up into P6, so well done to him. Losing the back end just a little bit through Eau Rouge there, but going out down the Kemmel Straight, down in towards the Coombs, and we'll be looking to get past Max Verstappen and Danny Kvyat through here, but we're not quite able to do that. We're not quite late enough on the brakes, but looks like all the field above us is definitely bunching up, so that is fantastic news for us at the moment. Down through this right-hander, down towards the hairpin of Rivage. And we might be able to get a little jump up the inside later on the brakes than the Toro Rosso and the Red Bull side by side with the Toro Rosso. Nearly going into the back there of Sebastian Vettel. Very, very late on the brakes for us. And unfortunately putting us onto the grass. We're not able to get past the Ferrari driver, but at least we didn't get any damage on our front wing. And we might be able to get past him within the next couple of laps. But going in towards Pouon now, no we're not. We're heading back towards Rivage on the second lap of this race, and still following behind Sebastian Vettel. Looks like we've had a good line through Rivage this time around, going to the outside of the corner with no name. We back out of it to go for a cutback move on the left hand, down the side by side with Sebastian Vettel, down on the run with the run down to Pouon, and looks like we got the job done on Sebastian Vettel. There we go, up into 5th position in this race, and that is job done on Sebastian Vettel, up into 5th place, and that's a fantastic start to this Belgian Grand Prix. But we cut ahead to the end of lap 5 now. Are we going to come into the pits for the wet tyres? The rain definitely looks like it's coming down a lot heavier. And here we go, in towards the pit lane. Nobody else decided to come into the pits, so it looks like we are doing it ourselves. But the engineer did actually tell us on this lap that the tyres were no longer good anymore. It's time to come in for wet tyres. So, you know, I'm just going to listen to my engineer at the end of the day. And if the other guys don't want to come into the pits, then that's fine by me. If they lose out time because of it, that is absolutely fantastic. But here we go, coming in for our pit stop onto the full wet tyres. It's a 2.9 second stop, so a good stop there from the Renault team. But it doesn't look like anybody else is coming into the pits, so we are going to be near the back of the field, coming out of the pits in P19, just ahead of Marcus Ericsson in the Sauber. And then we have two guys of Valtteri Bottas and actually my teammate of Jolyon Palmer, who look like they are way off in the field, like something has happened to them. But here we go, cutting one lap later. The rain definitely looking heavier now. The clouds are looking grayer and going down in towards turn 1. Will we get a lot of positions in towards turn 1? We've locked up massively on these wet tyres, and are we going to get the jump on the other guy? Sebastian Vettel has come out ahead of us, but we're going to have a better drive out of turn 1 than him, so we might be able to get the job done through Eau Rouge. So much faster than the Ferrari driver. Are we going to pull over to the left hand side? Yes we are. It's going to be side by side into Eau Rouge. We decided back out of it, following behind the Ferrari driver, side by side in towards Eau Rouge, and there we go, job done on the Ferrari driver. We're going to have so much better acceleration down the Kemmel Straight, and we are up into P6 of this race once again. Danny Kvyat has dropped down into P5 still, so Danny Kvyat dropped down. No, Danny Kvyat's gone above us. Danny Kvyat has actually gained in the pit stop phase. So well done to the Toro Rosso drive. He is up into 5th position. And the way I'm actually driving in this race, I'm really, really slow on the wet tyres. And I think he is actually going to get 5th position in this Belgian Grand Prix, if he can hold on to it. And if he doesn't have any mistakes as we lose the back end through Eau Rouge, all over the place at the moment. That's going to put me under massive amount of pressure from the Ferrari driver of Sebastian Vettel, who pulls over to the right-hand side, down towards the Coombs. Who's going to come out on top through the right-hander. I'm on the outside. Sebastian Vettel is on the inside, and he's now got the outside in towards the second part, and then into the right part on the run down towards Rivage. Who's going to come out on top? It looks like Sebastian Vettel is ahead of us. Can we do anything in towards Rivage now? We seem to be very, very good into this corner, but are we going to be able to do anything? I don't think we are. Sebastian Vettel, oh, we are getting on him though. We're riding his tail in towards the corner of No Name. Will we go for the same sort of move? No, we're going to try up the inside, losing the back end just a little bit through that corner, and unfortunately we have to give up that position on Sebastian Vettel, and he has moved up into 6th place. But now we are back on board with myself a little bit later on in the race. I believe it's lap 12 at the moment, and the track is actually looking a lot drier as we come into the pits for our second pit stop in this race, going on to the intermediate tyres once again, the only guy to come into the pits. So yeah, looks like we're going to make a good strategy as there's a Force India going sideways into the barrier in the background. Hopefully we get a replay of what's happened there later on in the race. A lot of guys going slowly, you can just see it in the background, but yeah, let's focus on this pit stop. Going on to intermediate tyres, the only guy to do so. So hopefully we have made a good strategy call. No, actually someone else is coming to the pits. Not too sure whether they're going on to inters or whether they've got a bit of damage. But it looked like a McLaren in the background. We are coming out ahead of the Force India that looked like that had that trouble. And not too sure whereabouts this is going to be in terms of position. We're in P16 in the race at the moment, right behind Felipe Nasr as we go through the right of Eau Rouge. In towards the left now, following behind Felipe Nasr. Oh, losing the back end just a little bit once again, but side by side with the Sauber driver going down the Kemmel straight. He squeezes us as much as he possibly can, but it's job done and up into P15. And up next for us is Sergio Perez in his Force India as we go in towards the Coombs. And there we go, job done on Felipe Nasr. And up into P15, so a great move on Felipe Nasr. And just having a look at a replay now of what's happened in the background down at the final corner, the bus stop corner. We're on board with a Manor at the moment, which I think is Pascal Wehrlein. And just going in towards the right-hander of the bus stop now. Pascal Wehrlein just drifting it off the racing line there, and actually makes contact with the Force India of Sergio Perez. It spins round the Force India, and there's just a little bit of a traffic jam, and that was why the Force India went towards the barrier. Just sort of reversed up. He didn't actually slide. But here's on board with Pascal Wehrlein, so he tries to brake, locks up as he goes into the corner, goes into the pit lane. So he was trying to go into the pits, but unfortunately Sergio Perez was in the way. And yeah, that's what spun round Sergio Perez. And Pascal Wehrlein, he should have really been more aware of where the Force India driver was and know that he couldn't actually gone into the pit lane because Sergio Perez was in the way, and that's how Sergio Perez got spun. He was just sort of oblivious to it. And now we're on the back of the Force India driver, maybe going for a move down in towards Pouon, up the inside. That is a great move down in towards Pouon. And up next for us is that driver Pascal Wehrlein, who looks like he does actually have problems in this race. He's been running wide in the last couple of corners, so yeah, we're now on the back of him as we go in towards Stavelo. Very, very easy move on Pascal Wehrlein, who once again comes back onto the track and has another collision with the Force India Perez, and has a collision with his teammate as well, Rio Haryanto, going straight into the side of Pascal Wehrlein as we go in towards this right-hander now. And Rio Haryanto holding up a Haas driver and a Sauber. Not too sure who both those guys are. I think it's Roman Grosjean and Marcus Ericsson as they go through this long right-hander. Blanchimont, there's contact between the McLaren of Jenson Button and Rio Haryanto. Rio Haryanto is out of the race. Let's have a look at a replay of what's happened here. So here's on board with Sergio Perez. Pascal Wehrlein just comes straight back onto the track, into the path of Sergio Perez. And Sergio Perez couldn't do anything there to get out of the way. And on board with Rio Haryanto, Pascal Wehrlein once again coming back onto the track in front of another driver, not looking where he's going. And unfortunately for his teammate, he's lost a massive chunk of his front wing and is going slowly. So he's going to have to make his way back into the pit lane. Obviously, we know what happens after this. The two drivers behind him get past, and then the McLaren of Jenson Button tries to get past, just gives him a little touch on his front left tyre. That's enough to take it off and puts him into a massive spin and out of today's Belgian Grand Prix. Here's on board with Jenson Button, and there's not a lot of contact, in all fairness, between the two of them. Jenson Button probably should have given him more room. And here we go up into P13 at the moment on lap 12, and following behind no one actually. They've all come into the pits. And will we be coming back out in P6 in this race behind Sebastian Vettel? No, yes, no. Sebastian Vettel got past us, remember, so we'll be coming out in P7 if we can get past Felipe Massa, which we do. And there we go, up into P7 once again in this Belgian Grand Prix. We're on board with Max Verstappen at the moment. Just going into that corner. Oh, there's a little bit of a wheel bang between the two of us into that corner as we try and defend our position. Max Verstappen tries to get past. It's side by side down in towards Stavolo. Who's going to come out on top between me and the Red Bull driver? Still side by side as we go through this right hand. And Max Verstappen looks like he's got the edge on me at the moment. We're trying to hold it round the outside. We're going to have to follow in his slipstream down through Blanchimont and in towards the bus stop chicane. Who's going to come out on top now? And we've got the inside line into the first part of Blanchimont, into the second part, and it's job done already. We don't need to worry about Max Verstappen anymore. And going into the bus stop chicane, we are back up into P17 in this race. We're cutting ahead to turn 1 now. Max Verstappen going up the insides. We make a mistake in towards turn 1. Once again, a little bit of argy-bargy between the two of us. Both us giving each other a little bit of a go. More wheel banging going on in the run down towards Eau Rouge. We're side by side at the moment. Will we back out of it? Yes, we do. Just a little bit. And then try and get a good drive out of the corner. But Max Verstappen braking on the midway stage of Eau Rouge, because otherwise he wouldn't have made it through the corner. Now we've got a good run. Got the slipstream down in towards the Coombs. Looks like it's going to be a fairly easy move on the Red Bull drive. And there we go. Job done. Up into P7. And there we go. Easy move on Max Verstappen down the Kemmel straight, and we can hold on to this position for the time being. But I'm sure the other guys will be coming back at us as the rain is starting to ease off on lap 17 of this race. We're on board with Max Verstappen once again. He throws up his hand for some reason. They're going through the Blanchimont now. He actually gives us a bit of a bang once again, which puts us wide as we go down through Blanchimont. And unfortunately, we've lost position on Max Verstappen, holding it on the curb there on the left-hand side. But unfortunately, cannot get past Max Verstappen through that corner. In towards the bus stop chicane now. Can we do anything through here? No, we're just going to have to settle behind Max Verstappen for the time being. In towards the start-finish straight, right on the gearbox of Max Verstappen right now. Here we go, down in towards turn 1. Can we maybe try and move up the inside, following in the slipstream? No, we're just not close enough to go for a move at the moment. And at the moment, we are down into P8 in this race. This is for 7th position in the race. And just look at the train that is behind me at the moment as we run down the hill, down towards Eau Rouge. Back uphill in a minute as we're following behind Max Verstappen. We are so much faster through Eau Rouge, though. We can manage to lift off where the AI sometimes have to brake through the corner. So there we go, catching so much on Max Verstappen as we run down the Kemmel straight now in the slipstream, pulling over to the right-hand side. And there we go, job done on Max Verstappen as we go in towards the Coombs once again. And you got to say it's a fairly easy move there on the Red Bull drive as we move up into 7th place, is now going through the right hand. And there we go, job done, up into 7th place on Max Verstappen. And we're now watching on board with the Mercedes driver of Nico Rosberg. He's got a Manor going slowly ahead of him. Oh, he actually just goes into the back of Pascal Wehrlein, once again getting involved with another driver there, making other drivers lose their front wing, and that made Nico Rosberg come into the pits. He then went behind us, and now we are coming into the pits for our final pit stop in the race. We feel like the track has actually dried up a lot. We were really struggling on this set of tyres as the track dried up. You know, we didn't have the grip at the moment through the corners. And on the track, on my view, it actually looked a lot drier than it does look at the moment. So hence why I decided to come into the pits. And if I saw this view, I probably would have regretted doing it and maybe waited a couple of laps. But going on to the super soft tyres for the last 2 laps of this Belgian Grand Prix. And hopefully it will be enough to solidify our 7th place and make up the gap that we are going to lose in this pit stop. But coming out the pits now, is this super soft tyre the right tyre to be on? I don't think so at the moment. Just look at the back end, weaving all over the place at the moment. Very, very disappointing coming out of the pits and going onto the wrong tyres this late in the race. But we're going to have to do a really good job as we get really close there to the barrier going through Eau Rouge there. That was very, very close to the barrier. Now on board with Sergio Perez, who's on the intermediate tyres. The right tyres for the track at the moment. It's a fairly easy move there for the 14-year drive to go up into P14. We're down to P15 at the moment. Disappointing race so far for us at this Belgian Grand Prix. And now we have a Haas driver of Romain Grosjean right behind us as we go down in towards turn 1. And running it wide into turn 1. Romain Grosjean getting a good drive through that corner. It's going to be side by side on the run down to Eau Rouge. But I think, yes, there we go. Romain Grosjean does have the move done, and he is up into P15 in this race. We're down to P16, trying to defend from Felipe Nasr now as we go through Eau Rouge. So much quicker, though, than Romain Grosjean in towards Eau Rouge. It looks like the track is now starting to come to us with 2 laps remaining in this race. DRS is now enabled as well. That's fantastic timing. An easy move on Romain Grosjean puts us up into P15 in this race. Up next for us is Sergio Perez as we try and hunt down the Force India drive. Just about making it in towards the Coombs. That was very, very close there to running it onto the runoff area. And because it's so wet out there, we could have actually lost a lot of time and a lot of positions. But now on board with Nico Rosberg, who has had an engine failure in this race. His championship season is going from bad to worse. He was actually leading the championship a couple of races ago, and a few disappointing races has now put him out of contention for the time being. Obviously, we still have a long way left to go in the season, but Very, very disappointing for Nico Rosberg to be out of this race and also have that collision with Pascal Wehrlein earlier on, and we will be getting past him in a minute. He's just parked up on the right-hand side down here, and there he is on the exit of P1, just parked over there, and we move up into P14 in this race. Up next for us is Sergio Perez, and now we are on the back of the Force India driver on the start-finish straight. Are we going to be able to go for a move down in towards turn 1? We are certainly going to try up the inside. And there we go, so much later under braking on the better tyres. And there we go, job done. Up into P13 in this race. And now we will be hunting down the other guys that are ahead of us. Here we are on the final lap of this race, coming through the last couple of corners now. We're just trying to hunt down the main pack of guys that were right behind us earlier on in the race. I don't think it's going to be possible. There is a big gap at the moment to us, but we are on the faster tyres. Their tyres are really struggling in these dry conditions now, as you saw on Sergio Perez and Romain Grosjean earlier on in the last couple of laps. Going through Blanchimont in towards the bus stop chicane. Are we going to be close enough to possibly go for a move on anybody? I don't think so. Into the bus stop chicane, you can see a Haas driver just ahead of us of Esteban Gutierrez, but unfortunately it's not going to be enough. It's only P13 in this race, and that is really, really disappointing.
Can't say that I'm happy with how today went, but I'm sure you gave it your best. Better luck next time.
A great win then for the Mercedes team today. And I have to wonder, Anthony Davidson, just what set them apart from the competition here.
The difference was clearly in the strategy. You could tell they'd done a lot of work on the pit wall to really optimise each stint and get the most out of the tyres. And it highlights just how much of a team sport this really is. But credit to the driver as well, though. There's no good having a well-oiled machine behind the scenes without a talented hand on the wheel, of course.
Well, I'm thoroughly exhausted after the excitement of that race, but I'm sure it's nothing compared to our drivers here. They've worked hard to make it up there, and it's great to see them make their way out onto the podium.
So a disappointing race for us here today at the Belgian Grand Prix. We were doing so well running in 7th position, but unfortunately going onto the tyres maybe one lap too early, or maybe we should just have stayed on the intermediates and we probably would have got that 6th position in the race after Nico Rosberg crashed out. So very, very disappointing. But Lewis Hamilton, he wins today's race with Daniel Ricciardo finishing in 2nd. Kimi Räikkönen is in 3rd with Sebastian Vettel in 4th. Danny Kvyat with a fantastic race finishing in 5th place with Max Verstappen in 6th. Felipe Massa finished the race in 7th with Nico Hülkenberg in 8th. Carlos Sainz in 9th and Fernando Alonso getting the remaining point. We finished down in 13th place. I mean, we probably should have had 6th position had we not gone onto the dry tyres at the end of the race. We probably should have stayed on the intermediates, but at the end of the day, I tried to do something to maybe get the other guys ahead of us, of Danny Kvyat, Sebastian Vettel, maybe Kimi Räikkönen, Danny Ricciardo, and Lewis Hamilton as well. But unfortunately, it did not work, did not pay off, and we lost out on what was probably actually quite a lot of points. You know, it would have been, how many points would it have been? It would have been 8 points in this championship, and for a team like Renault, that is still a big amount of points. You know, we are a midfield team, and we do need to keep on picking up as many points as we possibly can. Let's have a look at how this affects us in the Drivers' Championship, though. And we are still in 6th position. We haven't lost any places, but we have lost out on Max Verstappen, Kimi Räikkönen, and the likes of those guys who have shot off ahead of us. We're not too worried about those guys because, you know, realistically, we shouldn't be battling with them. Daniel Ricciardo, though, he has caught up the gap. He's only 6 points behind us in the championship. But I've said this so many times before, you know, do expect Daniel Ricciardo to catch up to us and then overtake us in the championship because he is in a Red Bull and those guys should be getting good results. Only because Daniel Ricciardo has not had a good start to the season. But with some R&D development on their car, they could definitely get some podiums, well, some more podiums in this season. Carlos Sainz has also, I believe, closed up the gap as well, but not by a lot, so we still have a huge gap to him. Let's have a look at how this affects us in the Constructors' standings, though. We forgot to actually look at the Constructors' standings, so we'll take a look at that in a second. But here we go, resource points. We have 927 of these, so we have a lot of choice in terms of upgrades. We can upgrade our engine ready for Italy. We can upgrade our downforce ready for Singapore, Suzuka, and Malaysia. But we can also upgrade our chassis weight for those tracks. We could upgrade our drag for Italy. But I think what we are probably going to go for is the downforce on our car. We are probably going to upgrade that ready for Singapore, Japan, and of course Malaysia, because, you know, if we upgrade the drag, it's only really for one race, whereas this downforce is going to affect us for 3 races in a row. So that is a good upgrade to go for. And here we are going to have a look at the Constructors' standing. So we're still in 5th position in the Constructors. Williams have caught up the gap to 10 points now, but Toro Rosso have got away from us as well. So we're still in that 5th position, but we have lost out a little bit of ground to Toro Rosso who are in 4th place, and hopefully we can get back at them at the Italian Grand Prix. But yeah, that is it for today's episode. If you have enjoyed it, don't forget to smash that like button. Also, subscribe to my channel if you are new around here. We've had so much Formula 1 content over the last week. We're going to have so much more Formula 1 content over the next week. We're also going to have this career mode every single day. I did miss yesterday's upload because I was at work, unfortunately, but I made up for it today with a double upload. Of course, you've had the German Grand Prix earlier today, so if you have actually missed that, don't forget to go check that out as well. And then we have, of course, this Belgian Grand Prix later on in the evening. We will carry on, though, with one episode tomorrow, so we will have the Italian Grand Prix tomorrow, and then one episode every single day for the whole of the season. While we might drop in some more double uploads every now and again, you're just going to have to wait for those. But I will see you next time at the Italian Grand Prix. Until then, though, it's goodbye from me.